Hello everyone, it's Judy here at Janet's Floral Design, and this evening I wanted to share some tips on how to attract orioles because now is the time to get those Oriole feeders out. In fact, I had a customer in just a couple hours ago and he told me that he has recorded that today was the day that he received his first Oriole last year. So that happened on April 28th. And so he said, you've got to tell people it's time to get those feeders out. So that's what I'm doing. This is the time to get those Oriole feeders out and about because they do come back right now and into the first week of May. And often what will happen is they'll land on an hummingbird feeder because they love nectar, and they'll try to get the nectar out of the hummingbird feeder. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So they'll land on a hummingbird feeder, and they're both nectar feeders, but as you can see, the hole for the hummingbird feeder is much smaller than the hole for an Oriole feeder. And so they'll land on this hummingbird feeder and they'll try to get the nectar out, and they may have some success. But I actually had a lady sometime this last week and she said, you know, that hole just wasn't big enough, and they got frustrated and they left. Well, that's what happens. They come through and they'll get some nectar, but it isn't enough to satisfy them, and so they'll move on. So it's important, if you're trying to attract an Oriole, that you offer them the right kind of feeder and the right kind of food. And there are three things that an Oriole prefers, and one is nectar, and that nectar isn't quite as sweet as a hummingbird nectar. It's watered down just a little bit more. It only has 6 parts. It has 6 parts water, 1 part sugar, whereas the hummingbird is 4 parts to 1 part. But there's also, if you don't want to do the sugar and the boiling and all that, there's easy nectar. You just mix it with water and it's perfect. So that's what would go inside a feeder like this. You put the nectar in here and you put the lid on, and then they'll drink from the holes. These pointy little things sticking out there are for orange halves, and so you can put the orange half on there and they'll drink from that. And I'm going to show you a picture of what that looks like here. So when the oranges are on there, you can see actually in the picture the Oriole eating from that. And then it's falling out the bottom there. Then you've got little compartments here for jelly. And that is actually one of Oriole's favorite things. And what they say is when they're migrating through, they'll stop for the nectar, but if you want to keep them in your yard, offer them grape jelly or grape and blackberry jelly. And so this is a great option called birdberry jelly, and it's designed for the birds. And you won't just get Orioles if you offer this. You'll get catbirds or even woodpeckers. They'll come and eat this jelly. Is it only for birds? Nope. I actually have some of this at home, and it's actually very good. I like it a lot. It's great on toast or peanut butter and jelly, but it's all natural. So there aren't any preservatives in this, and I think that's really important. Yes, you can use grape jelly from the store, and yes, they will eat it, but it isn't the best thing for an Oriole. It's better if you can provide something all natural. So whether you use this or you use something that maybe you've made that's all natural, those are the kinds of things that you want to feed the birds. And so you would use a feeder like this. There are also just plain nectar feeders, which is what you would see here, and that works well. Or maybe you just want to do the grape jelly thing. You can use a little feeder like that, and you just put grape jelly down in the cup, and then it's there to go. So that works too. I mentioned for the hummingbirds that you can use something like this to attract gnats, and the same thing would go for an Oriole. They need protein too, and so if you offered something like this to attract the gnats, or the fruit flies is probably a better word, they'll come to something like this, and you just put the bananas inside and let them kind of ripen to a lovely ripe stage, and attracts lots of fruit flies, and then you'll have Orioles as well as potentially hummingbirds eating those gnats. So that's an option. And of course you don't want to put that close to the house because nobody wants fruit flies flying around their food. You'd put that away out in the yard somewhere to draw those gnats and fruit flies away. Last thing I wanted to mention is, well, here is also a jelly feeder, and you can squirt the jelly down in there or attach a jar from the store. And you'll want to hang that from this. This is called a Nectar Protector, and you put water in there, and then the ants come and the water goes, the ants come and they hit the water. Ants can't swim, and then that protects your feeder, whether it's the jelly feeder or a feeder like this or a hummingbird feeder. Those are the things that will protect your feeder from ants. So that is a great option, and they come in clear or red or orange, whatever color you prefer. You could also use that little thing for jelly, but then of course you have to hang a nectar protector on top of it. And the other thing that nectar protector does is not just protect it from ants with the water, but it provides a feeding station. So sometimes you'll see the birds sitting on there actually drinking from the little nectar protector. So that's a great thing too. So those are kind of some of the things to keep in mind with Orioles. I think the most important thing is, you might think, oh, that sounds like fun. I think maybe I'll get one of those and put it out in June and see what happens. Problem with hummingbird or with Orioles is, if you don't attract them right away, then the chances of attracting them later on is really slim. So get that feeder out now. If you want to try to attract them, get a feeder, come in, we'll help get you situated with one, and then you can get that out in your yard right away, and hopefully you'll have some success with Orioles. So if you have any questions or would like to know more, please feel free to contact us. Send me a message and I'll do my best to answer in any way I can. So thanks so much for tuning in, and you have a great evening. Bye.